What did Moses do in his final moments that God hid from everyone? If you don't know this now, you might miss the chance to understand one of the biggest twists in biblical history. Watch before it's too late. First, are you already a member of our channel? Subscribe now. It won't take a second. I guarantee you'll have the best Bible stories to watch and listen to here on the channel. The life of Moses is one of the most fascinating and inspiring stories ever recorded. He was a leader who guided the people of Israel through some of the toughest trials, demonstrating unwavering faith and obedience to God. Let's dive deep into the last days of Moses, a narrative filled with valuable teachings and powerful lessons that can be applied to our own lives. Moses was born at a time when the Hebrews were slaves in Egypt, and the Pharaoh had decreed that all Hebrew boys should be killed at birth. Moses' mother, in an act of courage and faith, hid him for 3 months, and when she could no longer hide him, placed him in a basket in the Nile River. This basket was found by the Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted Moses and raised him as her own son. From an early age, Moses was prepared for a greater purpose, growing up in the Pharaoh's palace with access to the best education and military training. Despite his privileged upbringing, Moses never forgot his Hebrew roots. One day, seeing an Egyptian mistreating a Hebrew, he impulsively killed the Egyptian. Fearing for his life, Moses fled to the desert of Midian, where he found refuge and a new life. There, he married Zipporah, the daughter of a Midianite priest, and became a shepherd. It was during this time in the desert that Moses had a divine encounter that would change his life forever. God appeared to him in the form of a burning bush, but was not consumed by the fire, and called him to a monumental mission, to free the people of Israel from slavery in Egypt. Moses, initially reluctant, accepted God's call and returned to Egypt. After a series of devastating plagues that demonstrated God's power, Pharaoh finally allowed the Hebrews to leave. Moses led the people through the Red Sea, where God opened a dry path for them to pass, and then closed the sea over the Egyptian army that was pursuing them. This was just the beginning of a 40-year journey through the desert. During these years, Moses faced numerous challenges. People frequently complained and rebelled, often wanting to return to slavery in Egypt rather than trust God to lead them to the Promised Land. Moses acted as a mediator between God and the people, climbing Mount Sinai to receive the 10 Commandments, which became the foundation of moral and spiritual law for the Israelites. Moses' patience was constantly tested. There were moments of great frustration, such as when he descended from Mount Sinai and found the people worshiping a golden calf. Even so, Moses interceded for them with God, asking for mercy and forgiveness. He continued to lead with determination, trusting in God's promises. But even great leaders like Moses are fallible. In a moment of frustration when the people again complained about the lack of water, Moses disobeyed God by striking a rock instead of speaking to it, as he had been instructed. Because of this disobedience, God told Moses that he would not enter the Promised Land. In the last days of his life, Moses received instruction from God: climb Mount Nebo, from where he could see the Promised Land. Imagine the mix of emotions he must have felt as he looked at the land he had dedicated his life to reaching, knowing he could not enter it. From the top of Mount Nebo, God showed Moses the entire extent of the Promised Land, from Gilead to Dan, all of Naphtali, territory of Ephraim and Manasseh, all of Judah as far as the Mediterranean Sea, the Negev, and the whole region from the Valley of Jericho, the City of Palms, to Zoar. On Mount Nebo, Moses died according to the word of the Lord. His burial was a mystery, as the Bible says that God buried him in a valley in Moab, but no one knows the exact location of his grave to this day. This mystery only adds to the aura of Moses as a special and chosen leader of God. Moses' legacy is immense. He not only freed the people of Israel from slavery, but also led and taught them to live according to God's laws. He is remembered as one of the greatest prophets and leaders in biblical history. His life and teachings continue to inspire millions of people around the world. A surprising fact about Moses is that, despite not entering the Promised Land in life, he appears in the Promised Land in the New Testament during the transfiguration of Jesus. In this event, Jesus climbs a mountain and is transfigured before Peter, James, and John. Moses and Elijah appear and talk with Jesus, symbolizing the law and the prophets. This moment shows that, in a way, Moses finally entered the Promised Land. The story of Moses' last days teaches us many valuable lessons. It shows us the importance of faith and obedience to God. Moses dedicated his life to serving God and his people, even in the face of great challenges and obstacles. His dedication and commitment are examples to be followed. Just like Moses, we all face moments of doubt and challenge. Like him, we can find strength in faith and obedience to God. We can trust that, even when we do not see the final outcome of our efforts, God has a greater plan for us, and like Moses, we can leave a lasting legacy of service. Moses' life is a powerful reminder that God can use any of us to achieve great things, regardless of where we start or the mistakes we make along the way. His story is proof of the power of faith and obedience, and it inspires us to follow our own paths with courage and determination. The last days of Moses are a fitting conclusion to an extraordinary life of service and leadership. They remind us that even when we face our own challenges and uncertainties, we can trust that God is with us and has a greater plan for our lives. May we all learn from the example of Moses and seek to serve God and others with the same dedication and faith. Reflecting on the last days of Moses invites us to consider how we can live our own lives in a way that leaves a lasting legacy. May we be inspired by Moses' dedication and seek to make a difference in our own journeys, knowing that God is always with us, guiding and sustaining us every step of the way. Moses' story also reminds us that the journey is as important as the destination. Although Moses did not enter the Promised Land, his leadership along the way was crucial in preparing the people for this new phase. Similarly, our daily actions and decisions shape our legacy and impact those around us. On our own paths, we face obstacles and moments of doubt. We may wonder if we are on the right track or if our actions will make a difference. Moses' story encourages us to keep trusting in God, even when we do not fully understand the plan. His unwavering trust is a powerful example of how to live a life dedicated to serving a greater purpose. Additionally, Moses' last days highlight the importance of passing the baton to the next generation. Moses prepared Joshua to be his successor, ensuring that the people of Israel would have a strong leader to guide them after his death. This leadership transition is crucial in any community or organization. Teaching and empowering the next generation is an essential part of leaving a lasting legacy. Moses' teachings on law and justice still resonate today. The 10 Commandments, which he received from God, are fundamental principles that continue to guide morality and ethics in many cultures around the world. Moses' dedication to these principles reminds us of the importance of living according to solid values and seeking justice and truth in all areas of our lives. Moses' journey is also a testimony to God's grace and mercy. Despite his failings and moments of doubt, God remained faithful to Moses, guiding and strengthening him every step of the way. This gives us hope that even in our most difficult moments, God is with us, offering his grace and guidance. Moses' life is a story of transformation. From an Egyptian prince to a shepherd in the desert, and finally a leader chosen by God, his journey shows us that with faith and obedience, we can overcome any challenge and fulfill the purpose that God has for our lives. Moses not only changed the history of his people, but also left a lasting impact that continues to inspire generations. As we reflect on Moses' story, we are called to consider how we can apply his teachings to our own lives. How can we live with more faith, courage, and dedication? How can we serve others and leave a lasting legacy? These are important questions that we should all ask ourselves. Moses' story is a powerful reminder that each of us has a role to play in God's grand plan. No matter where we start or the obstacles we face, with faith and obedience, we can achieve great things and make a difference in the world. Thus, as we conclude our reflection on the last days of Moses, we are inspired to live with purpose and passion, trusting that God is with us every step of the way. May we follow Moses' example, always seeking to serve God and others with dedication and faith, leaving a lasting legacy of love, justice, and truth. Moses' final moments teach us that even great leaders face challenges until the very end. His leadership was marked by constant dependence on God, a reminder that true spiritual leadership requires humility and a willingness to follow divine direction. He not only guided the people physically through the desert, but also led them spiritually, shaping their beliefs and religious practices that would endure for centuries. On Mount Nebo, looking at the Promised Land, Moses must have felt a deep sense of fulfillment and, at the same time, feeling of sadness for not being able to enter it. This moment is a powerful metaphor for the achievements and sacrifices that many of us face in our lives. Often, we work hard to achieve a goal only to realize that the final destination may be beyond our personal reach. However, the journey and the impact we leave along the way are equally important. Moses' life also teaches us about the importance of obedience to God. Even after decades of faithful service, one act of disobedience prevented Moses from entering the Promised Land. This highlights God's holiness and the seriousness with which He treats obedience. For us, it is a reminder that every decision and action counts, and that we must strive to live according to God's commandments and guidance in all areas of our lives. The mystery surrounding Moses' burial adds an element of reverence to his story. God personally took care of Moses' burial, indicating the uniqueness and importance of his role. The absence of a known grave prevents Moses' worship as a sacred site, redirecting the people's reverence to God, the true source of power and guidance. Furthermore, Moses' transfiguration alongside Elijah with Jesus in the New Testament serves as a powerful testimony to his continued spiritual relevance. This event connects the Old and New Testaments, showing that the law and the prophets, represented by Moses and Elijah, find their fulfillment in Jesus Christ. For Christians, this reinforces the importance of Moses' life and teachings as part of God's redemptive plan. Throughout his life, Moses was also an example of intercession. Repeatedly, he interceded for his people, asking for God's mercy and forgiveness. This mediatory role is crucial, as it reflects Moses' compassionate heart and dedication to serving not just as a leader, but as a spiritual shepherd. He deeply cared for his people's well-being and was willing to put his own needs aside for the benefit of others. Moses' preparation of Joshua as his successor is another important aspect of his leadership. He invested time and effort to ensure Joshua was prepared to continue the mission. This act of passing on leadership demonstrates Moses' long-term vision and commitment to ensuring the people of Israel had continuity in leadership. For us, it reminds us of the importance of mentoring and preparing the next generation, ensuring our legacy and teachings continue to impact the future. Moses' final speeches, recorded in the book of Deuteronomy, are full of wisdom and guidance. He reviewed the laws, reminded the people of God's promises, and exhorted them to remain faithful. These speeches are a powerful source of inspiration and instruction, not just for the Israelites, but for anyone seeking to live according to divine principles. Moses' faith never wavered, even when he faced extreme adversity. His trust in God, even in the darkest moments, is a testament to what it means to have unshakable faith. He shows us that regardless of circumstances, we can trust that God is in control and will fulfill His promises. Moses' journey also reminds us of the importance of facing our fears and uncertainties. From the beginning, Moses had doubts about his ability to lead, questioned his speaking ability, and feared Pharaoh's reaction. However, God gave him the courage and resources needed to fulfill his mission. For us, this means that even when we feel inadequate or insecure, we can find strength in God to overcome any challenge. Additionally, Moses' life highlights the importance of community and collective leadership. Although Moses was the primary leader, he did not act alone. He relied on the help of his family, such as Aaron and Miriam, and other leaders, such as Joshua and Caleb. This shows us that teamwork and collaboration are essential to achieving great things. No one can do everything alone, and together, we are stronger. Moses' dedication to justice and morality is also a vital aspect of his legacy. He established laws and regulations aimed at creating a just and equitable society. Through the 10 Commandments and other instructions, Moses sought to guide the people to live in a way that honored God and promoted the well-being of all. These principles remain relevant and applicable today, reminding us of the importance of living according to ethical and moral values. Moses' life is a shining example of sacrificial service. Constantly put others' needs above his own, serving as a tireless leader and shepherd. Even when the people complained and rebelled, Moses remained dedicated to his mission. This spirit of service is something we should all aspire to, seeking ways to help and support others in our own lives. Finally, Moses' story is a reminder that the purpose of our lives is much greater than we can imagine. God used Moses to accomplish extraordinary things, and the impact of his life continues to resonate thousands of years later. When we surrender to God's plan and allow him to guide us, we can be used to make a significant difference in the world. Moses' life and last days are a rich source of inspiration and learning. They challenge us to live with faith, obedience, courage, and service. They remind us of the importance of preparing the next generation, living according to ethical principles, and trusting God in all circumstances. May we all seek to follow Moses' example and leave a lasting legacy that honors God and benefits others. Looking at Moses' journey, we see a man who, despite his human flaws, was greatly used by God to fulfill a divine purpose. He faced moments of doubt, fear, and failure, but always returned his trust to God. His life shows us that no matter how imperfect we are, God can use us in incredible ways if we are willing to follow and obey him. Moses' leadership also highlights the importance of being in tune with God's will. In every step of his journey, he sought God's direction, whether through prayer, meditation, or simply listening. This spiritual connection was the foundation of his strength and wisdom, allowing him to make difficult decisions and lead with integrity. Additionally, Moses exemplifies the importance of resilience. His journey was long and full of challenges, but he never gave up. He continued to move forward, trusting that God was with him every step of the way. This perseverance is a powerful lesson for all of us, especially when we face our own struggles and obstacles. Life will not always be easy, but with faith and determination, we can overcome anything. Moses' story also reminds us of the importance of humility. Despite his position and achievements, Moses remained humble and dependent on God. He acknowledged his own limitations and failures, and never tried to take credit for what God did through him. This humility is a rare but essential quality for any leader or person of faith. Another crucial lesson from Moses' life is the power of intercession. Repeatedly, he interceded for his people, asking for God's mercy and forgiveness. This practice of intercessory prayer is an important part of the spiritual life, showing our concern for others and our trust in God's power to intervene in their lives. We can all learn to be intercessors, fervently praying for the needs of our friends, family, and communities. Moses' preparation for his mission is also noteworthy. Before leading the people of Israel, he spent years in the desert, being molded and prepared by God. These years of preparation were essential for his success as a leader. Likewise, we must be open to periods of preparation in our own lives, trusting that God is preparing us for something greater. Additionally, Moses' life is a testimony to the importance of trusting in God's plans, even when they do not make sense to us. Moses often did not understand the why of certain instructions from God, but he obeyed anyway. This unwavering trust is something we should all strive for in our own lives, trusting that God knows what is best for us and will guide us on the right path. Moses' teachings on law and justice are a lasting legacy that continues to influence our lives today. Principles he established are the foundation of many of our modern laws and moral standards. His dedication to justice challenges us to live according to these principles, always seeking the greater good and equity for all. Moses' life also shows us that true success is not measured by personal achievements, but by the impact we have on others' lives. Moses dedicated his life to serving and leading the people of Israel, and his impact continues to be felt thousands of years later. This perspective challenges us to evaluate our own lives and seek ways to make a positive difference in the world around us. Finally, Moses' story is a powerful reminder that God is always present, guiding and sustaining us every step of the way. No matter how difficult or uncertain the path may seem, we can trust that God is with us, offering his grace, wisdom, and strength. By following Moses' example, we can live lives of faith, courage, and service, leaving a lasting legacy that honors God and benefits others. In conclusion, Moses' life is a rich tapestry of faith, obedience, service, and leadership. His last days are a testament to a life well lived, dedicated to serving God and his people. As we reflect on his journey, we are inspired to follow his example and strive to live according to divine principles, trusting that God is always with us, guiding and sustaining us every step of the way. May we all seek to follow Moses' example, living lives of faith, courage, and service, and leaving a lasting legacy that honors God and benefits others.